Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as Mr. Most Days Off, but today we are going Girly Edition of Best Darn Diddly, so I don't know, miss Most Days Off for the sake of this episode? Either way, going along with me for this ride, as always, your co-host with the most, it's Richie the Whiz Kid. How you doing today, Rich?
So does that mean I'm still just the Whiz Kid in this sense then? Because
yours is gender neutral, yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing great. It's a good day to be here. We're going to talk about a fun episode with some fun twists and turns in the story. I can't wait to get into it. Let's go ahead and throw it back to you. The man, the myth, the Monagerie himself. It is Miles.
And today we also have a special guest returning to the show for her second appearance. And if I remember from our recent conversation, she is currently 17 seasons into a quarantine rewatch of The Simpsons. Welcome your guest today for the Girly Show. It is Jamie Zeske.
Hey, thank y'all so much. Miss all days off these days.
Yeah, I know. I totally feel like my gimmick has been infringed upon because of this virus. I know that's the least of things to complain about considering everything that's going on in the world, but
still,
it hurts a little bit, I won't lie.
Yeah.
So Jamie, how have you been, and how is your rewatch of The Simpsons treating you?
It's going pretty well. I finished the 18th season last night, so I would be doing the movie and the 19th season the next time I started up. So I'm pretty deep into it.
Yeah, it's amazing what free time will allow for.
Yeah, I actually started my rewatch whenever they pulled the Michael Jackson episode, because then I bought that DVD.
Nice, yeah.
So I was like, I haven't seen a Simpsons episode on DVD in a while, and then shortly I bought the 4th season, and then Disney Plus, so I was like, all right, I'm deep into it now.
And Disney Plus makes it too easy, because sometimes it's with the DVD setup, at least you have to change the disc so you naturally get breaks, but Disney Plus will just keep feeding them to you.
I know, and I love it. It's bad for productivity. It's good for productivity. It's sort of a lot of people will do The Office or Friends as their comfort show, but this is definitely mine. The problem is it becomes less background sometimes, because then I'll be like, oh, okay, this is a really good episode or a good stretch. So I stop having it as background and it becomes foreground, so.
Yeah. Does Disney Plus do the thing where it asks you if you're still watching after 3 episodes, or does it just keep going?
It does not. It keeps going.
Wow,
It
okay.
just keeps feeding you the drug of choice, yeah.
Yeah. It's straight in my veins at this point. For sure.
Just hook it to my veins. Except you miss out on those widescreen jokes with the Disney Plus. I know it's a common complaint, and they're saying they're going to fix it at some point. But I also sometimes will watch them on Disney Plus, even though I have the DVDs. And every time I'm always like, I hate how zoomed in it is. It bothers me a little.
It hasn't bothered me yet, but I again probably having it start out as kind of a background thing.
Sure.
I don't notice those finer details.
Well, and so far, at least for my experience, the seasons that you've watched have probably been mostly rewatch versus you're getting into the territory where, admittedly, when we get there on this podcast, there's going to be a lot of episodes that I have not seen.
Oh, really? Not seen at all?
Not seen at all. Yeah, there are Simpsons episodes in the 20s that just, through me being in college and having other distractions, I just missed several seasons of The Simpsons where, I didn't miss them entirely, but, I wasn't watching them, every single Sunday like I was at points in my life.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some for me as well that I didn't realize I hadn't seen. But yeah, these is definitely, I've only seen them once territory, whereas pretty much right through where we're at in the episode we're discussing today is where I'm like, yeah, I've seen definitely all these episodes multiple times. Have y'all seen the most recent episodes?
The most recent one I watched was actually the one that was written by Carolyn Omine, former guest on the show, and she brought Kevin Smith into the Simpsons world.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was a really cool episode, actually.
Well, I think they've been on fire this season, and they did a little two-parter, the most recent episodes, and I definitely cried during it. It's a really funny, really thoughtful two-parter.
Oh, that's all. That's so good because like it's a lot of what the critique of modern Simpsons is. It's lost the heart that it once has, and if it's causing to jerk a few tears out of your eyes, then I think that says at least something that it's got some of its heart still beating in there somewhere.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
and a new character helps with introducing that kind of stuff too. But it's good. Check it out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the new season again. I don't watch every single week on time, but I try to keep up as much as I can.
We'll get there eventually. How many seasons away are we now? We're like halfway there.
We're getting close to halfway. No, we're like close to a third of the way. But
yeah, my issue with all these episodes right now that we're currently going through is I thought all these episodes were like seasons further down the road. I did not realize Girly Edition and like Trash of the Titans and the one where he climbs up the mountain were all going to be in season 9.
Yeah, I guess I always say that I'm very familiar through like I don't know 12 to 14 somewhere in that span, but maybe I also had it skewed a little bit where I thought that some of these episodes were later. And also I've made at least this mistake twice this season where I'm getting to a point where like sometimes I think the episode that we're going to review next week is actually a completely different episode. Like we just did the Trouble with Trillions not too long ago, and or possibly that's coming up because we've been recording out of order so much. But like that episode I actually thought was the one where like Burns was paying Homer to like do various dares or whatever, and totally not that episode at all.
I have a feeling it'll be a good podcast.
Jamie, we talked, you're currently binging. I think you can make an argument that The Simpsons is arguably the perfect quarantine show. Like, if you're looking for something to binge watch that, you just want to, like, turn your brain off and, like, not think about all the problems we're having in the world. Like, there's so many seasons, and like we said, Disney Plus will just keep giving them to you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Sometimes it's a little too predictable in the sense of prophetic,
Yeah.
or the satire is so so similar to something that's going on in the world right now. It'll take me out of it.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, it's total comfort food. There's so much of it. There's I think so many episodes that are kind of written off that deserve a second look. So I think it's a great quarantine show.
I'm going to go ahead and just break all of the walls right now and say that we actually have Mike Scully from The Simpsons and also the new show Duncanville on Fox, who's going to be our guest on Trash of the Titans, which is the episode coming up next week, if you're listening to this in order. How do I know that? It's because I'm from the future. But it's actually a conversation, or part of the conversation we had with him. We discussed the idea that, like, it's weird almost how The Simpsons from the 90s sometimes hit so hard with the current events issues. And, like, everybody talks about how The Simpsons predicts the future, and some of that is pretty corny, and some of it's pretty crazy. But I think the way that more than, like, the events, the way that, like, the culture, the tone, like, the way they have their finger on the pulse of society is still, like, relevant today.
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually have a quote from this episode that I thought I wrote. Should I share that now or when it arises? That I think is sort of speaking to what we're going through these days.
Okay, this whole season's been out of order. Go ahead and say it now.
When Lisa says, "You can't create a monster, then get mad when he stomps on a few buildings." Definitely part of the political climate in the moment, I feel.
Miles is a monster.
Yeah, you should not have unleashed me on society, people. Thanks for calling me out, Jamie.
Hey, this episode is all about hard-hitting news. I gotta speak the truth.
Yeah, it's crazy how relevant a lot of that is, and it is a very hard-hitting quote with what's happening right now. But I guess that's a good as enough a place as any to go ahead and slide right into this episode. Like we said, we were talking about Girly Edition today, which originally aired on April 19th, 1998. So close. It did not have a chalkboard gag. It does have a couch gag, which is a repeat, but one that I'm fond of. It has the real human hand come down over the Simpsons on the couch and spin it, like spin art style, and all the colors like kind of like go to the outside of the page or whatever. It's cool. You have to see it to believe it.
The colors, Duke. The colors. I'm colorblind, kid.
I had to write
Jimmy.
down a note to figure out if it was tie-dye or spin art. And I realized that when I wrote that down, I'd forgotten about spin art until it was pen to paper.
Writing spin art reminded you like spin art was a thing.
Exactly.
Very cool. We actually opened up this episode on an Itchy and Scratchy show where Scratchy is applying for an apprenticeship at a glass blowing, I don't know, what do you call it? Like a menagerie, I guess, right?
The menagerie.
Yeah.
Make little glass menagerie pieces.
And that's exactly what happens to Scratchy is Itchy actually blows him into a, oh, that sounded dirty. He turns him into a glass sculpture.
Wow, that was, yeah. I mean, it looks very violent and upset, and he actually turns him into a no vacancy sign for a motel.
Yeah, stretches the glass into the no vacancy neons. So right here, we actually get one of two first appearances. First, I'll go and say the commentary for this episode featured Yardley Smith, the voice of Lisa Simpson, of course, Mark Kirkland, Matt Groening, Mike Scully, and George Meyer. And this first appearance right out the bat is actually, she appears in this script as just Lady or Corporate Lady, but she later gets the name Lindsay Nagel, and she is the corporate woman who is telling Scratchy that this, what is it, like he's got like 2 hour and 20-minute program, and he's mad because they're going to make him cut 10 minutes to fill it with something that'll draw more ratings.
He says it's a fine 3 hours and 10 minutes, and they can't really have any wiggle room to get rid of anything. And they're like, we're cutting 10 minutes. And he's like, I guess we could trim the hobo parade to lean 20. But I thought that this version of Lindsay Nagel was in the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie episode, because my first note for this episode says, this lady is Lindsay Nagel before she is she.
Ooh.
So, like, because Lindsay Nagel has blonde hair and this lady has brunette hair, which I'm not saying they can't change hair colors in the Simpsons universe, but I just thought maybe it's kind of like the Rich Texan where they're getting the fine shape of the character, but they're not quite there yet.
That might be fair. Again, that came from the commentary that they said that this is the first appearance, so I'm going to say in their defense that Wizards change things often.
Mm-hmm. And Whiz Kids catch them.
I do think some prototype of the character was definitely in previous episodes, including that Poochie one, because a lot of that radical speak reminds me of what things she says later in this episode.
Well, and I also trip in that a version of her appeared in the Malibu Stacy episode where they're like changing out the Malibu Stacy doll, and she isn't she like running like one of those test audience things or like, you know what I mean, like where you're in like a one-way mirror room and corporate execs are like listening to your response to like what you like about a new product. I could have sworn that was her.
I don't remember. I was busy eating the knob.
Perfect. So they decide that the hobo parade is going to be replaced with a kids news segment only after Krusty was denied extending the Mattel and Mars Bar Quick Energy Chocobot Hour.
Should have listened to him.
I mean, that's barely legal as it is. I love, that's like basically just a straight up parody of like all 90s cartoons and also like the Power Rangers, like, but it's just straight like force feeding. It's a 30-minute like toy commercial disguised as a TV show.
Dino Riders.
Yeah. Or in this case, a candy and a toy commercial.
Ooh.
Doubling down. So they decide they're going to do kids news, and that's when we cut over to Springfield Elementary School for the first time in this episode, and we see that groundskeeper Willie is hard at work raking leaves as the kids play, and pretty much immediately Bart is about to do classic Bart, stuntmanship, showing off, if you will. He does some pretty epic skateboarding and ends up completely wrecking the pile of leaf, just, wrecking all of Willie's work that he's been putting in for however long.
Miles, he jumps off a swing set, lands on the skateboard, spins the little merry-go-round thing around, goes up a slide, and then he actually hits all the freaking
rungs.
ladder rings
That's
on
the impressive
on the other
part.
side. Like, this is some fancy boarding.
He, tail stalls on every single rung of the ladder.
I want you to try this on your new longboard.
I'm just working on standing on it for now. No, it's fun. I almost killed myself on a hill the first day I had it.
He's still here. He would have definitely been all days off at that point.
Yeah. So I don't remember liking cream corn at school specifically, but apparently the stuff they get at Springfield Elementary is very pure, according to Principal Skinner. Though I don't believe at all that he's not going to cut that with like some baking flour or something.
Gotta ration it out.
Yeah.
Make it last a lifetime.
So
I also wrote,
Jimmy?
cream corn is gross.
I remember liking it like at home when I was a kid, but like I don't know, maybe kids are stupid. I was probably a stupid kid.
Well, if any food would put me off with its appearance and texture versus its taste, it would be cream corn, and that's why I wouldn't want my shed flooded with it.
Yeah, true. I forgot to mention that Willie actually reprimands Bart by stealing or confiscating, I guess, his skateboard. And
I mean, Bart did rape his boniest of his pile, so boniness.
Oh man, the other little Easter egg that they have whenever we see inside of Willie's shack, right next to Willie's bed, there's a pinup of the sexy Scottish woman that he met back in the episode Whacking Day.
All right.
Fun stuff right there.
Or Miles is confusing all redheaded Scottish people.
Yeah, you know. That's my MO. But Bart takes they also like funnel or pump in the cream corn, I guess by the truckload. It's like a gas truck filled with cream corn with a hose extension going straight into a trough in the cafeteria. But Bart takes this hose and stuffs it down Willie's chimney. Man, this is a graphic episode. But it fills Willie's hut with cream corn to the point that it explodes.
And this is all while Skinner has Lisa in his office, and he's trying to talk to her about some prestigious award she's achieved.
Lisa, Channel 6 is launching a children's news program, and they've asked me to select an outstanding student to be anchor child.
Oh my gosh! Today's top story, little girl on cloud 9 as dream comes true.
Lisa, I've selected you to be that child anchor.
I know. I already jumped to that conclusion.
Oh, all right. Well, if you're so smart, tell me who I selected to be lunchroom monitor.
Me?
Take your sash and go. Pure interact. I actually kind of like it when Lisa has that little bit of like cockiness or really just confidence because, I mean, let's be real. She's the only one in that school that has any real, shot at getting that spot. Maybe Martin, but he doesn't have the personality. Let's be real.
I don't think you can carry a news anchoring position. And this, like, I always forget in this episode that this isn't just like a Springfield show. Like, this was Krusty Lou Studios trying to come up with this. So, like, this is a pretty big honor for her to get it, I would think.
Yeah.
She's part of an FCC requirement now.
Yeah.
Were either one of you in like journalism or anything like that in school, or has that ever been a passion of either of yours?
I'm sort of born into that passion a little bit. My dad is a writer, and he was like a stay-at-home freelance writer when I was a little kid. So
cool.
I've been to many newspaper offices and like tagged along. And I've always loved writing, but that's, I think, why I never got into it officially in yearbook, like, and stuff like that in school because, I was rebelling against things I like just because my parents did them. So yeah, I'm definitely into news. I kind of I'm a little bit of a like television nerd too. So I liked that in this episode we found out the classification of the Krusty station, which is like the PEG. So that's kind of cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like they're required to show a certain amount of educational or for programming or government's programming a day as part of their FCC requirements from back in the day when like they had to get our TV from under our houses. So it was like sort of a trade-off. You use public land to broadcast. you have to give a certain amount of time to educational programming. So it's interesting to see how much Krusty's been skirting this with his show.
That's
like,
fascinating.
That part
insight.
of the satire is pretty spot on.
Yeah, that's something I honestly think that you're one of, like, I don't know, a handful of guests that would have possibly known that information. So glad that you're here to shed that light on that.
No, it is, this is a broader audience, but it'll probably be on at like 6 a.m, kids news.
Right, and kids, this is the thing that is just going to be like, kids are like waiting to end so they can watch their cartoons.
Exactly.
Because those were still a thing back then. There's a real funny brief interaction here with Lisa and Marge and Bart. I love the way that Bart has this like move played out, and Lisa can't get any of the same reaction. But basically, Lisa is excited to share the news that she's going to be the anchor woman for Kids News, and Bart immediately kind of is like, hey, I want to be in this too. Let me do sports. Lisa is, this might be my only shot that I'll have as a second grader to have a nationwide news platform, Bart. I won't let you mess this up for me.
Mom!
And Marge immediately reprimands Lisa and is like, Lisa, let your brother do sports.
Mom!
I won't fall for that mom stuff.
No, this is after when Willie's cabin exploded. He vowed revenge on Bart. He knew exactly who it was. So that's going to come into play later in the episode.
Very good point. Yeah, Willie immediately had no question of who to blame.
Bless you, my child.
Thank you. This is something we have not had in a while, at least in order of how we've been recording. Again, I'm so confused at the actual run order of this season at this point. But this is a B-plot we're about to introduce.
What? That's
something that has not been a part of the recent episodes that we have been reviewing.
What's a B-plot?
Well,
is that Murder Hornets?
Kind of. In this case, it's actually a little short, like, side story with Homer and his helper monkey that was inspired by the movie Monkey Shines, which is a really bizarre horror movie from the 90s that is essentially about a helper monkey that let's just say it doesn't go well for the person that is supposed to be helping.
Well, to be clear, back on my point, they shouldn't call them Murder Hornets. They should call them Buzzkills.
They're our dad joke of the day. There we go.
Yeah, I'll stay on topic.
Our Homer joke.
Haha, he didn't get it.
So, Homer is at the Quickie Mart, and he's checking out, and he doesn't realize until he's, like, being given his change that, like, he's not talking to a poo, but, like, a little helper monkey on the counter, and he's very startled and actually screams, but Apu assures him, it's just my helper monkey, nothing to be worried about.
He's like all sorts of stitched up, and I forgot what he said happens, but he said he took like multiple gunshot wounds or something like that, didn't he? Like
probably working the night shift.
Yeah,
I don't remember what he said either. But he's like in a wheelchair. He's got like cast on both his legs and his arms. It's like a serious injury, but all Homer sees is that he's sitting, and that if he had a helper monkey too, he could sit more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the setup for the B-plot we'll be revisiting later. But back with the kids at Kids News, we actually see Lisa is like wanting to take this super professionally. And they've got a dope set, to be fair. Like, I mean, it's legit. Like, Krusty Lou is putting in the money to set them up for success. But all of the rest of the kids, Milhouse, Nelson, Bart, they're like literally like climbing and playing on it like it's a jungle gym.
Exactly what would happen if you put all these kids in that room.
True. I love that we had a little like callback earlier too when Lisa was like explaining why she chose the staff that she chose, and she chose Nelson because they had a history and they used to date, and I just thought that was funny that like they
she goes, plus he threatened me.
Yeah. So we actually open up Bart's still playing around, and again, Lisa is like really wanting to take this seriously. So Bart's sitting in Lisa's chair and doing the whole like, we meet again, Mr. Bond.
Bart, get out of my anchor chair.
Silence, Octopussy.
Come on, this isn't a joke. All over town, kids are just waking up from their naps, cranky and hungry for the news.
Has any kid ever been like other than Lisa? But again, the station is pouring a lot of support into this this new show. They even have Kent Brockman show up on set, which, is a pretty big deal in the Springfield celebrity world.
Man, he's going to get a lot of attention in some future podcasts, isn't he?
Maybe so, Rich. Maybe so. I do. He's like fake nice, like good luck, kids. Excuse me. Good luck, kids.
Get him.
Where the hell's my grilled cheese?
Wow.
Back with Homer, we see that he is visiting the Animal Assistant Program, which is where you can apparently get a helper monkey, but he is very, he's distraught to know that basically he can't just come in and buy a helper monkey unless he's differently abled.
Well, I'd like a monkey, please, and maybe one of those dogs. What do they do?
Oh yeah, the ones that serve as seeing eyes for the blind?
Do they do any other tricks?
No.
Just the monkey, then.
But Homer just straight out declares, I'm not handicapped, I'm just lazy.
You can only get one if you're physically challenged. And
fortunately for Homer, he knows just the person to help him get this monkey. He goes and gets his dad.
Enfeebled!
And this is another one of those just like, oh, you feel so bad
Such
for
a
Abe
bad
in this
joke.
moment. Because, yeah, he's so excited. He's like, oh, son, this monkey's going to make my life so much easier.
Mind if I take him for a ride?
Sure, I'll just stand here. I can't wait to eat that monkey.
That's what makes the joke like of leaving Abe behind okay, is that last line they add.
I love the setup for it. Like, you legit start to feel bad for Abe, and then
Yes.
you're like, oh, never mind, he's trash.
Just punch you from behind after that.
Or maybe that's just how bad the conditions. Maybe I'm being too judgy. The Springfield retirement castle is like clearly, skimping on the protein.
This is during their coronavirus. Food was at an all-time low. I have to admit, I did not realize that the kids' news story is the one that the monkey story was involved with. Like, I completely forgot that was the B plot for this particular episode. So that was really interesting because I just never connect these two stories.
Again, I think that's been another common thing as we're getting into this part of The Simpsons that, we're getting into this season, the teen seasons, if you will. There's been a lot of times that we are confused. It's like, wow, I remember both of these plots so clearly, but I completely forgot they were connected.
Yeah.
And this one, too, like, both plots do almost get equal time. I think the monkey plot is definitely the B plot. I mean, like, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it gets a lot of screen time for the B plot. Disagree?
That was my monkey just saying meh.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, please speak up if you don't agree. But it just seems like there's a lot of interaction with, Monkey, Marge, and Homer.
I
Monkey
agree
Marge.
with you. I think this is sort of a situation where we might need that extra 3 hours and 10 minutes because we do spend a lot of time with the monkey plot. And then I feel like at the end, they kind of do one of their, we got to wrap this up endings.
And again, yeah,
that seems to be a longer episode or see them be in different episodes.
Well, and they didn't have a chalkboard gag for this one, which is often a sign that they were running long.
Yeah.
So there you go. But we do actually go right back to the kids' news at this point. We're actually seeing, again, Lisa is just, doing an absolutely great job. Nelson is actually even doing his part. He comes up with a theme song. But Lisa's, doing a great job as anchor, very professional, and then she passes it off to Bart with sports.
You're just gonna gloss over how the library committee is slashing its budget. It's like by 3%, I think. That is awful.
And Krusty's sitting over on the side watching and is just like, boring.
Now sports.
Bart just completely, he basically speaks gibberish for the most part, but he's very charismatic, as you would expect.
Bart Simpson telling you to lock the doggy in the barn because here comes dodgeball action. The shirts continue their domination over the skins today. And in schoolyard fights, ding, ding, ding. The highly anticipated match between Kearney and Mr. Largo ended in a disqualification for use of dog poo on a stick. Lisa?
And Lisa, you can tell, is just like, oh my god. Like, she's just kind of stares blankly back. And Nelson says that they are out for break. And that's when the corporate lady comes up to tell Lisa how great of a job that she's doing, but unfortunately has to tell Bart that he's off of sports.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, it's because he's now the new co-anchor of the show, which
What?
Lisa is shocked by, just like completely dumbfounded with the fact that her idiot brother, who isn't even trying to take this seriously, just got promoted. Oh man, this like act break here is so good. It's almost a fourth wall break, but like Bart like leans in and he's like, "Ooh, that's gotta hurt," as he rings the boxing bell.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, it's like he stares like right into the camera, and it's like he's talking, "Oh, that's gotta hurt."
Oh, calm down, Deadpool.
Yeah, right. Simpsons did it. We open up our second act back with the kids' news, at the Channel 6 building, and like Lisa is again just completely like, "I'm a straight A student. What are you talking about?" But the lady has to explain that Bart has something that you just can't really teach in school, something called Zazz.
What's Zazz?
Zing, Zork, Kapowza. Call it what you want in any language. It spells Mazuma in the bank.
Zork? What is Zork?
I didn't say Zork. But Lisa's frustrated because she feels like Bart is just trivializing the whole idea of kids' news versus, again, she feels like this is her big break as a second grader.
Bart's not exactly the brightest penny in the fountain.
Exactly.
And this is actually like a low blow for Lisa here. This always makes me feel really bad for Bart. Like, I understand why he does what he does momentarily.
Like, if you put it in perspective as he's a 10-year-old boy and, like, how you would react as a 10-year-old boy, then, yeah, I would agree with that.
But that's when Bart's in his dressing room touching up his makeup, I guess. I don't remember exactly what he's doing. Or he's brushing his teeth. And the TV monitor in front of Lisa's still on, so she is bad-mouthing her brother with the Lindsay Nagel wannabe, and, like, Bart can hear everything she's saying.
And he just straight up calls her dumb. Or he's like, my brother...
She calls him.
Yeah. She calls him dumb.
Yep.
This is kind of a rough moment, I think. And I think it's a little beneath Lisa, but I think she's only... But I think, like, her pride is hurt, so that's why she's so blunt about it. It's tough.
Yeah. And again, keeping in perspective, this is, very close in age siblings, so there's always that jealousy, this rivalry a lot of times with the Simpsons kids. And yeah, I think that one is probably going to sting, and Lisa didn't necessarily mean it to sting, but like, you got to be careful what you say all the time.
I think a show like this taught me that because, like, if I ever am bad-mouthing the numerous people I bad-mouth, I'm always worried they hear what I'm saying. So.
Oh man, if I ever forget to, like, not record before we start this show, we're screwed. So much tea gets poured.
Oh.
So, back with the Homer and his helper monkey plot, like, you can very quickly see that the monkey is being trained to do things like, just anything Homer doesn't want to do. First thing, Homer didn't actually tell Marge about the monkey. That's mistake number one, because she's drinking a glass of orange juice when she freaks out that the monkey is in the kitchen. She's like, Homer, there's a monkey! Yeah, he poured your orange juice.
You made it the orange juice you're drinking.
But again, like, Homer, like, you would think that you would at least want to mention, like, oh, by the way, we have this new member of the family. I would also be very curious to see how Santa's little helper reacts to this Mojo, the monkey.
Yeah.
SLH is a pretty chill, wild, crazy dog, if that makes sense. I think Snowball's the one that would have the issue.
Yeah, probably. Now's as good a time as any to say that Mojo the monkey was actually voiced by Dan Castellaneta, which is just another, mark on how great of a voice actor Dan Castellaneta is.
I also would have liked to see Mojo have some interactions with Mr. Teeny from Krusty.
They were, and since it was like somewhat like a Krusty episode, or like he logically was in this episode, that would have actually been really funny.
Maybe
you better cut the monkey parade.
But Marge is off to get a tetanus shot, and that leaves us with Bart trying to figure out how he can basically just outshine his sister. So he actually
She said earlier when she was talking to Lindsay Nagel that Bart hasn't read a newspaper in years. So he's trying to prove that he can read a newspaper.
He makes it like 2 lines in, and he's like, please don't turn to the comics. Don't turn to the comics. Don't.
Hey, Jughead, did you hear the Supreme Court reversed?
I used to hate that when I was a kid. Like, I'd be reading the comic section, and like, there's so many comics that just were completely over my head. I'd still want to read them, but I'd always be just like, this isn't a cartoon.
Where's Calvin and Hobbes and Foxtrot?
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the punchline in Love Is, personally.
Ooh.
That one still stings, huh?
Yep.
So Bart decides he needs to get some help from a professional. He goes off to see Kent Brockman, who, it's funny because I guess they share the bond of having a sister and one that they have a rivalry with, because immediately when Kent Brockman's told this is to get even with his sister, huh? Huh, I've got a sister, Miss Big Shot CNN Washington correspondent. Pfft, well, she's not the boss of me. Come on in.
Yeah, he walks right up to his front door. I thought Kent lived behind like a gated entryway or something, but he just walks right up to the front door, and Brockman's just going to give him all of his like anchor secrets, which why would you give anybody those if they're going to come back to bite him in like 20 years when Bart's big and famous?
Springfield celebrities are so accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could just find them everywhere.
And I mean, I guess I could argue that like Bart is probably not unfamiliar with hopping a fence or even a gated, community or two, but still, yeah, he does just stroll up there with all the confidence in the world.
He's got that zazz.
Yep, sure does. Did you say Zork?
We didn't say Zaz.
I didn't say
Zork. So Kent Brockman essentially tells Bart that the secret to being a popular news anchor is actually just doing fluff, like, personal interest stories. And he shows him an example of, like, a deserted merry-go-round, and, I don't remember.
Hear that, Miles? It's the sound of children's laughter. Silence. That's because tomorrow, this old carousel, which has delighted young Americans for the past 6 years, will be torn down to make way for the future. A store that sells designer mouse pads.
I love that, like, as he's doing his correspondence, he actually gets on the carousel and rides it, so you have to wait for him to come all the way around for him to say his next line.
It was a sweet moment.
And Bart immediately gets it. He's like, oh, I don't have to actually put effort into this or try. I just gotta make some fluffy crap that people will get emotionally connected to.
They both just do like the smile and nod to each other, where Bart's like, mm-hmm.
Yes, we will manipulate people. Great idea. Love it. We cut again back to Homer with his monkey and Marge, who is just not really digging this help. Well, first of all, helper monkey at this point is like maybe not even accurate, because essentially Homer has trained Mojo to be his drinking buddy. And they just
He's helping Homer.
What's that?
Go ahead, Jamie.
It's an enabler monkey at this point.
Enabler monkey, yeah. Wow, that is actually something I would be interested in. You know where I can get one of these? I make a lot of terrible decisions. I would love like extra support for those.
I was like, you're right, I should do that.
Great idea, monkey. Enabler monkeys coming to a store near you. We should get Best Darn Diddley branded enabler monkeys. That's not a lawsuit. So we see that Marge is even like, Homer, the monkey's in my spot of the couch.
Honey, he's clearly marked his territory.
I do like how they transition like into like these scenes kind of transition because they have the news story popping up on the TV in the Simpsons home, which is pretty cool. I like how
even though Homer's drunk, he's like, the kids are on TV.
And again, to Jamie's point earlier, does that mean that Homer's drunk at 6 a.m?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right?
He's still drinking from the night before.
So we get our first glimpse at the new sensational news coverage, Bart's People. There's even a special little logo that pops up labeling it such. And it appears that Bart is out in the park, standing in front of an old man sitting on a bench by a pond. Joe Banks, 82 years young, has come to this pond every day for the past 17 years to feed the ducks. But last month, Joe made a discovery. The ducks were gone. Some say the ducks went to Canada. Others say Toronto. And some people think that Joe used to sit there and the camera moves over to a different bench by a different pond filled with ducks. But it could be that there's just no room in this modern world for an old man and his ducks.
Where have all the flowers gone?
And Lisa is just immediately, like, she hates this. But, actually, we cut to the power plant where we see Mr. Burns and Smithers watching the report. And Burns is surprisingly moved by this.
Smithers, you think maybe my power plant killed those ducks?
There's no maybe about it, sir.
Excellent.
So evil.
He's on like a giant beanbag chair, too. I liked his little layout he had in that room.
I had put that note down as well. Burns and Smithers are in, like, oversized beanbag chairs, man. Like, that is so unusual. I don't think that we've ever seen that.
I want one.
Isn't that, like, that's just, like, weird for Mr. Burns, though, isn't it?
I mean, he was relaxed. That newscast spoke to him. Maybe he bought it while he was watching it. I don't know.
And also it's 6 a.m.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Get over yourself, Miles.
Fair. All right, my bad. It also, that commercial also, or segment also spoke to Homer because he immediately is like, Marge, can I get a duck?
You already have a monkey.
Can he get a duck?
No.
The monkey actually freaks out at Homer at this point and hits him with the pizza box and starts screaming.
He's upset that he doesn't get to get a duck. That's what it is. Like, he is responding to the no.
But he's like mad at Homer about it.
Because he failed him.
But he's not taking care of him.
Mm-hmm. The enabler monkey was not enabled, so he is upset.
And speaking of enabling, everybody on set at Kids News gives Bart a round of applause, except for Lisa, who is like, that wasn't news. That was sappy and manipulative drivel.
Well, I'm sorry you couldn't feel for old Joe.
And he, like, puts his hands on her shoulder. He's such a snake in this scene. Like, it's so, like, Bart is, like, such a scumbag right here. It's so bad.
He loves the accolades, so he's going to keep doing it.
And, Lisa's, like, completely calling him on his bullshit. You didn't feel for him either. You're just a big fat phony.
Bart, look up here. This is where the tears would be if I could cry, but I can't. Watch face them. You can learn a lot from him, Marianne.
It's Lisa.
Marianne's better.
Oh. Poor Lisa. Like,
right.
Yeah. Again, Lisa did... Like,
Marianne and Bart? Yeah.
It was kind of shitty of Lisa to call her brother dumb, but again, like, you really start, like, you feel for everybody in this episode. Like, I feel for Marge, I feel for Lisa, I even feel for Homer. I mean, the
Willie?
poor guy... What's that?
Willie.
And
Willie, big time, yeah. We're gonna get to him, don't worry. I have a feeling he's gonna make another appearance in this episode.
I bet he doesn't.
You don't think so?
Chekhov's groundskeeper. If he's in the first act, he'll be in the last one.
To keep the script grounded?
Yeah.
So Lisa decides that she's going to fire back, and basically she's going to do the same thing. If they want sheep sentiment, I'll pump them so full of sap they'll be blowing their nose with a pancake.
Ooh.
And that's when we get our second first appearance of the episode. Again, that's according to IMDb on this one. But Lisa's standing in front of an old shack delivering a story. It turns out that the lady she's talking about inside turns out to be the crazy cat lady who will later...
Cat ladle! Oh no!
I try to say lady and later at the same time because I was going to say who later would become known as Eleanor Abernathy.
All right.
But right now she just comes out angry and throwing cats.
Good first impression.
I do like to, she's trying to find different sappy stories. She moves over, instead of the shack with the crazy cat lady, she goes to a abandoned railway. But as soon as she starts to say, the old Union Pacific doesn't come by here much anymore.
Choo-choo! There were first 8 chuggas before that choo-choo.
Nice.
Yeah.
I recently posted on Facebook, I think, that apparently nobody can agree how many chuggas you say before you say choo-choo. I believe it's 8, but different people believe it's a different number. So, there's a fun debate for everybody to have.
But I always get back to the other website or other group we follow on Facebook, the Simpsons Bort posting, because they went to town on this meme that came from this little scene for a long time, for months, on the old Union Pacific doesn't come by here anymore. So now it just makes me think of the memes, which is kind of weird.
Interesting. I don't think I was in Bort posting at that time because I did not see those.
Aw.
Are you in Bort posting, Jamie?
No, the old Jamie doesn't get over to old Bort posting these days.
Scroll.
Oh, yeah, you got to check it out. It's pretty good stuff. It's just Simpsons memes nonstop. It's ridiculous.
But people take Simpsons memes and make them new and original. So you have to post original stuff.
Yeah,
on there.
It's not the same old stuff, and they get super meta. It's ridiculous.
It's the only I
great.
still actually actively read out of all the Facebook groups that I follow on TV shows because it's fresh constantly.
So fresh and so clean, yeah, for sure.
Not clean at all.
So Homer's still trying to abuse this relationship he has with his helper monkey and using it for evil. They actually are robbing a Lard Lad donut shop, where he lets Mojo go in through the ventilation system, and he comes out with donuts wrapped around his arms, legs, and tail. But unfortunately for Homer, Mojo is no longer a team player because he jumps up on a power line and eats the donuts himself. He does, to be fair, throw one pity ground donut down for Homer to have.
He already bit into that one, but Homer was not a good team player on this because he's like, good boy, Mojo. Now bring him down and I'll give you one.
Yeah, and Mojo flipped the script.
Mm-hmm. Stop that. You're a helper monkey. This isn't helping.
Yeah, but Homer decides to eat the donut anyway. Back with the kids' news, Bart has another story coming up. This one is about the forgotten veterans, their guns that are quiet now, and their helmets that are lost or pawned. I like that line a lot. And so they're it's a bunch of veterans that are sewing American flags out of discarded scrap parts. And what is these They're making flags that they may not have 50. They may have not have the right number of stripes. They may not have the right number of stars. The colors might be all wrong. And the purists will tell you that the American flag doesn't contain the word Jordache. But if they run this flag up the flagpole, I'll salute. I'm Bart Simpson.
It looked like one of the gentlemen doing the flags was Milhouse at grandpa age. And I was trying to remember. I remember Milhouse's family stayed with grandma at one point in the Bart's Soul episode. And I don't remember seeing a grandpa in that episode. But then I started getting even way too into the thinking process behind this, where I was like, but Kirk and Luann both look the same. So I can't tell if this grandfather is on the dad's side or the mom's side of the family. So I guess it checks out okay. Or he just doesn't know he has a grandfather.
I did not even realize or catch that, but that's fascinating. That's fun just to create our own Simpsons lore with. I do like the little I guess back and forth we get between Lisa and Bart. This is all on air, while the cameras are still rolling for kids news, and Lisa essentially calls out Bart for yet another touching Bart's people. Now turning to...
I just think our veterans deserve a little recognition.
That's what Veterans Day is for, Bart.
Is that really enough to honor our brave soldiers?
They also have Memorial Day.
Oh, Lisa, maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. The important thing is, veterans deserve a day to honor them.
They have 2.
Well, maybe they should have 3. I'm Bart Simpson.
He just cuts in with the I'm Bart Simpson again. It's not getting any better for Lisa back at home because there's like piles and piles of fan mail slipping into Bart's, or all addressed to Bart, and Lisa's getting absolutely no accolades whatsoever. And it's basically all people who want to be one of Bart's people.
I wish they could all be Bart's people, Mom. I truly do.
I'm proud of you, honey. You're finally giving something back to the community after taking so much.
And what I enjoy about this scene in the kitchen table is that Lisa's in her regular street clothes and Bart's still wearing his suit.
Well, like, and he's still throwing in the I'm Bart Simpson into casual conversation, too. So, like, as they're arguing about Bart, Lisa's like, again, like, you don't care about these people. Well, maybe, if anything, I'm guilty of caring too much. I'm Bart Simpson.
Stop talking like that. Stop it.
They actually get into
this episode has a...
Oh, go ahead, Jamie.
I was just going to say this episode has a lot of good Marge burns.
Yeah, and it's fun when Marge gets her, like, do like that. I like it when Marge has the one-liners.
For sure.
She's funny when they give her the chance to be.
Yeah. And admittedly, I also love it when they give her just, like, the totally corny, like, bomb jokes. But, like, I don't know. There's something really endearing about Marge just trying to be funny in her own home.
Did she start mom jokes before dad jokes were a thing?
Probably.
Ooh.
I mean, she actually, like, delivers jokes. Like, we laugh at Homer because he's just a buffoon. Like, Marge actually, like, has, like, you know, thought-provoking, like, wordplay. But Lisa and Bart are past the point of words. They are full-on choking each other, and Marge has to call him, Marge calls her out. It's like, Lisa, please, you have absolutely no reason to be jealous. You're still a very important part of Bart's show.
Oh.
And that's when Lisa actually decides that she is going to kind of just make Bart look like a fool on camera. She's going to plant a Bart's people person. And she starts to, like, maniacally laugh or evilly laugh. And then she sees Mojo perched up on her bookshelf.
I actually really like that.
That makes that scene.
Oh, for sure. She's evil.
Mojo finally connected with somebody.
What's that?
So Mojo finally connected with somebody.
They kind of are in sync here for a moment, yeah. And that actually brings us to the end of our second act. We come back with our third act, and we see that Lisa is actually delivering a piece of mail to Bart directly. It's one of another suggestion for Bart's people.
Oh, so many souls, so little airtime.
I love that Bart, as he's reading about this immigrant who moved to this country to chase the American dream, but after years of labor, he's homeless and sleeping in a junkyard. And Bart's even like, oh my god, this is perfect.
I like Lisa, like, oh, how terrible, read on.
Yeah. But like, even like, Bart's like, oh, this is too perfect. It is, isn't it?
I'm gonna put him on the air tonight, live.
Oh, Bart, you'll have to ride your bike pretty fast to get all the way out there in time.
No, I'll just take the chopper.
They gave you a chopper? Dude, Bart is, like, impressively good at just being that, you know, the whole charisma will take you so far in life.
Isn't that how all the news anchors right now get their jobs?
Oh!
Probably. Yeah. Back again with the Simpsons, Homer and Marge specifically, and Mojo. We see Homer and Mojo are flat out just passed out on the living room floor, clearly drunk. And Mojo's wearing a diaper despite the fact that he's supposed to be housebroken. When Marge points this out, both Mojo and Homer at the same time are like, who cares? You said this monkey would be sweeping the floors and cleaning the gutters, and now he just lies there struggling to breathe. What do you want? His cholesterol is through the roof.
I want you to take that monkey back so he can be rehabilitated and get a second chance.
But Homer is like, no. Prove you're fine, Mojo. Do your happy dance. But it doesn't go well. He almost passes out. He leans against the wall and collapses. He really is. Homer is basically, this is animal abuse in every way.
That's my note for the final scene with Mojo. I'm like, would Homer get arrested for this now?
Honestly, probably. I would have to imagine yes.
They would have all his information because he went and took the pet from the facility. So they wouldn't just be like, here you go, here's a pet. They'd make you fill out paperwork, right?
That would definitely make the most sense, that there would be, you can't just, get a helper animal without it being registered, right? I don't know. I legitimately am ignorant here, so I have no idea.
Me too, but I'm fairly certain there's a paper trail.
Yeah, I would, especially in today's age when it's so easy to have a paper trail for everything.
And Homer's going to get away with a lot of crimes he has earlier in the season, and he will in episodes in a few weeks where, they just kind of overlook certain things he's done that would land him in jail into the episode.
Yeah, but to be fair, Homer doesn't really give him a chance to identify him either. When he gets, he just takes the monkey back and leaves it and drives off. And the man who we met earlier at the helper animal store, is it even a store? Whatever the guy who looks a lot like the caretaker from the museum when we found out that Jebediah Springfield was a fraud. For what it's worth.
Yeah, maybe they're like cousins.
Maybe. Another lore thing for us to discuss. But
oh my god, Mojo, what have they done to you?
Pray for Mojo. He types it out. We then see Milhouse's contribution to the kids' news segment where I'm not sure what he's talking about exactly, but we hear him say, so by waking up a little early and having some extra sheets handy, no one's the wiser. Tomorrow, destroying the evidence.
Ew.
Oh.
That's some hard cracking news reporting for young children.
Milhouse.
Wait, do you really not know what it's about?
No, I'm kidding. I was just making. Honestly, I was trying to play the idea that it could theoretically be dirtier than it was if you wanted to think like that. But he's very clearly a bedwetter.
Yes.
But
not necessarily just a bedwetter. That's true.
Yeah, I'm saying it could theoretically be another thing that he's covering up for.
He is looking at Bart's mom. That happened in a recent episode. Or a future episode.
Has got it going on. That's all I want. Yeah. I'm actually legit, I thought it was crazy the lead singer of Fountains of Wayne died from coronavirus, singing her for Stacy's mom. Totally random.
Wait, he did? I didn't know that yet.
Yeah, that was a few weeks ago. It is wow, what a weird thing to have happened. That guy wasn't
He also was a big songwriter for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is a really fantastic show, and he also wrote That Thing You Do.
Oh, really?
The song, yeah.
I had no idea. That's awesome. And he got big talking about the girl next door's mom. I think that's hilarious. That song was huge when I was in high school. It was
yeah. Way to bring me down, Miles.
Sorry, man. It happens. We actually see the results of Lisa's little plan or sabotaging Bart when Bart shows up at the junkyard to meet this immigrant that has recently become homeless, only to find that it's groundskeeper Willie, and Willie definitely has not forgotten who destroyed his hut.
He's gonna murder him!
And he's legit trying to, is the thing. He is, flat out going at Bart, swinging bumpers and such at him, to the point that Lisa is immediately oh my god, what have I done? Nelson, cover for me.
It's after Willie knocks the camera over and it looks like he has intent to kill.
Which I think is completely fair to assume at this point.
Mm-hmm. That's the smart part is they cut the camera feed so that it looks like Bart's in the most peril possible to Lisa.
And we already know, since Lisa doesn't have the use of the corporate chopper, that she'll have to just do it the old-fashioned way and ride her bike all the way across town, which we know is pretty far based on the conversation earlier.
That's all right, though. Nelson's got her covered.
He starts doing armpit farts.
In a full suit.
Yeah, actually, that's funny. I didn't think about that. How in the hell is he doing that?
What were we going to say, Jamie?
I was just going to talk about his professionalism in that moment, but now I'm trying to figure out the logistics of his arm part farts.
Because he does switch to the like he knows to switch to camera 2. Like he actually turns to face each camera.
Is Nelson so prepared for armpit farting that he has like the armpits of his suit jacket like out so that he can, get some? I don't know. I think we're thinking too much about the logistics of this now.
He's just the armpit fart man. Like he can just do it. That's his ability. Like there Homer being unbreakable.
Or Magical Maggie. Yeah. Armpit fart suit Nelson. Is it the suit or is it Nelson then? Is it like Iron Man where he doesn't really have the powers? It's the suit that gives him the powers?
I think he does it. He's done it in other episodes too, I believe. Well, maybe I'm just thinking of Bart. So I think it's just his ability.
Okay.
Maybe his butt is actually in his armpit. Who knows?
Oh
maybe it's real farted.
All right, we're off the crazy train at this point. Let's talk back about
Oh.
What were you gonna say, Jimmy?
I was going to say the old crazy train doesn't come around here very often.
Nice. So again, Willie is straight up trying to murder Bart, and Lisa pulls up trying to stop Willie. Willie, stop!
Get away with you! I gotta finish him off while I'm still temporarily insane! And that's how they make it okay.
Bart is, hiding. Is this where he's, Willie actually tricks Bart by being like, Bart, it's a policeman. We got Willie. Thank God.
Good job, officers.
Oh.
And he doesn't even change his voice. He still sounds like Willie while he's saying
Right? Lisa convinces Willie not to hit Bart or kill Bart because she tells Willie that Bart is his son.
What?
Well, not literally, but in a way, isn't he everyone's son? For you see, that little Hellraiser is the spawn of every shrieking commercial, every brain-rotting soda pop, every teacher who cares less about young minds and about cashing their big, fat paychecks. That's funny in itself. No, Bart's not to blame. You can't create a monster and then whine when he stomps on a few buildings. I'm Lisa Simpson.
You're right. It's all Willie's fault. I've been a terrible father.
And Jamie earlier, again, I think very, very telling and prophetic that, that line, you can't create a monster and then whine when he stomps on a few buildings, hit super hard in 2020.
Yeah.
That whole speech that Lisa does, though, you can see at first she has no idea what she's saying.
She's winging it.
But then she kind of steps into that Bart role where she starts to realize the power of just making stuff up.
She even admits, boy, that phony schmaltz of yours sure is powerful stuff.
Yeah, but I have a certain respect for that whole truth and hard work thing that you do.
You know, Bart, if we combine your showmanship with my integrity, we could make kids really care about the news.
You're right. If we work together, there's no stopping us.
And they shake hands and everything seems like it's going to be great. And we immediately cut to the TV announcer. The new improved Kids News has been canceled. Stay tuned for the Mattel and Mars Bar Quick Energy Chocobot Hour. And
we have to go.
You can count on us, Mr. President. Major Nougat Gooey.
Coco.
It's a commercial, man. It's a commercial for chocolate and
Miles,
toys.
put down those entertaining Mattel products. Colonel Katafi is up to his old tricks.
Let's power up! So Bart and Lisa are watching the show that's replaced them on their own TV.
I can't believe they canceled us for this.
Shut up! I'm trying to watch this. And that brings us to the end of our third act and to the end of the episode, Girly Edition. Jamie, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about this episode before we get out of here?
Sure. I did. I mentioned I'm kind of a nerd for, well, it's not really news I'm a nerd for as having multiple, not a monopoly in the news, having multiple points of view and facts and all of that out there, which I think is very important at this time. I think this episode is part of an unofficial trilogy. I guess I'm going to call it the Lisa Starts an Independent Media trilogy.
Okay.
Because there's this episode where she gets her own newscast. Then there's the episode Fraudcast News, where she makes her own newspaper to battle Mr. Burns.
Yeah.
And then she only plays a really small part in it, but in the episode, you can't always say what you want. When Kent Brockman is fired, she helps him like do his own YouTube rant. And I like how all these episodes deal with various facets of like trying to get authentic voices out there in the news, which I think is really important. I think The Simpsons found some funny ways to touch on it. And my favorite quote that we didn't say was when Krusty says that Itchy and Scratchy teaches lots of lessons. It says, "Don't trust mice. Cats are made out of glass."
Yeah, that's really. I love that trilogy theory you have there, and that's really speaks
Lisa
to
Media
Lisa
trilogy.
Yeah, and it's just Lisa speaking truth to power, which is absolutely a Lisa thing to do, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Rich, what about you or that book of yours? Do you have anything else you want to add?
I just feel like here with recent memory that there's certain episodes where I've been like, I said this earlier in the podcast, oh, this one isn't for a few more seasons, or I don't remember really liking this one a whole lot, but like sitting down and actually watching it, I very, very much enjoyed it, and it has so much more than you remember. And I just think that, like you've said in Miles in the past numerous times, this started getting like later on where we started wanting to be like horny teenagers again and not pay attention on Sunday nights to things that help give us our sense of humor in life. And going back and watching it again, it's just I like giving these episodes more rewatches and more credit because they definitely deserve it.
I just want to point out that I never said that I was not watching because I was a horny teenager. I assumed you.
Whoa!
I was reading the Bible. That's why I wasn't able to watch in college.
Gotcha.
I would wear a T-shirt that said "I'm a horny T-shirt."
That's great. I actually have a couple things myself. First off, I want to say that this was the last episode that Eric Stefani worked on. He was an animator for The Simpsons. He's the brother of Gwen Stefani of the band No Doubt. And by the time this episode actually was airing, or being made, I should say, No Doubt had already blown up big time. And Eric definitely had a comfortable, cushy job working with the band. You know, he was one of the songwriters and contributors for the music of that band. So he definitely didn't need to come back to The Simpsons, but he was invited back by Mark Kirkland, I believe, who sent him the premise of the episode, and he thought it sounded real fun, so he decided to come back and just help out with the animation for this episode, and it was the last one that he ever worked on.
Wow.
And then also, I thought this was pretty cool. They actually recycled footage of Bart at the news desk for this episode when the Simpsons movie came out. That would have been approximately 7 or 8 years later, I want to say, at this point. And they basically used footage of Bart at the news desk to like announce for certain bumpers or certain trailers for the film. He would actually announce the trailer or announce the movie, and they recycled him in his suit doing the news desk announcement.
That's some good insight.
But that is going to do it for Girly Edition. Jamie, thank you so much for coming back and being a part of this show. Always a pleasure to have your insight, and always a lot of fun talking to you about a show that you're clearly so passionate about. It was great. Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely. Is there anything that you want to plug, or any you want to tell people where they can find you on social media, anything like that? Jamie Zeske. You can find me on all the social media things. Not too much going on right now. That I have concrete details about, some things in the planning stages. Did we lose you? Uh-oh. Jamie, are you there? I think we lost Jamie there, but again, what a great guest, and make sure you follow her online at Jamie Zeske. She will definitely be back down the road. I have a strong feeling that we'll want her to come back and share some insight on future episodes as well.
Some great insight today.
Of course, make sure you follow online as well Richie the Wiz Kid. He is at thewiz_kid23.
Miles, as always, he's still at Mr. Most Days Off. And most importantly, please follow our show at Best Darn Diddly. That's DIDDLY.
Thank all of you so much for downloading, listening, sharing, supporting on Patreon, all of the great things that we're so grateful that you do each and every week. Richie and I are going to be back again next week to review the 200th episode of The Simpsons with our very special guest, Mike Scully, showrunner from season 9, still a affiliate, I don't know the word. He still works for The Simpsons, and he just created the show Duncanville with Amy Poehler on Fox. So come back next week for our review of Trash of the Titans.
The episode will be full of Zork.
And until next time, be cromulent to each other.
He's Miles Francis.